position with the same sort of,
Like, again,
powers that the person has, and they would be kind of like delegating their voting rights to the city
So
council.
really, what powers are we really talking about? Because basically, when it comes down to a vote, it's only one vote. So that person has to vote whether that person, one vote whether that person is a city council president or whether that person is an individual council member. That doesn't make their vote weighted any more than anybody else.
But there's some, so you're saying the issues that you're raising are more procedural, not in terms of authority? That you're saying the city council president has procedural, not authority, leads the procedure, and you're wanting to make sure that there's an experience?
Yes, because this person is the leader of the pack, basically. That's basically it. And this is the person who says, come on, gang, these is what the issues are. This is how we're going to run our city council meeting. But if you're new at this, how can you lead those people? And a perfect example is you have a person like Dee Barbado, who's, I think this was in the 8th or 9th term, and you bring someone from someone who's brand new to lead her. It just does not make sense.
But you said, but Jane's point was that currently the at-large voters are choosing that leader. And so would the voters have any reaction to not choosing that leader? And that's pure speculation on anybody's part, whether how they would feel about that. That was the issue she was raising, that the currently voters choose two citywide, relatively significant positions, that of the mayor and that of city council president, and we would be removing the at-large voters to choosing that second position, that would be chosen.
And then again, when you look at Mount Vernon, which is a smaller city than the city of Yonkers, their city council president is a person who's rotated amongst themselves. They all run at large.
Right.
And then they within themselves, this is my 2 year, I'm the council president. The next 2 years is yours, and they just rotate. So again, it's the city as a whole is not selecting who that person is.
One other thing that I'd be curious to get your reaction to. When the commission, about 4 or 5 incarnations ago, created the system that, maybe not that many times ago, I'm not sure any nor remember, created the system that's there now with the staggered elections and so forth. One of the principal things that the commission did was to have the city council president and the mayor run at opposite turns of the wheel, if you will, every 2 years.
Right.
And the theory behind that was that you would bring out the voters at each election if you had a citywide office that was up for election, rather than having one turn of the wheel where there was the mayor and then one turn of the wheel when there wasn't, and those districts that were perennially not at the same turn of the wheel as the mayor would presumably have a lower voter turnout because there wouldn't be a citywide office to bring them out. Do you think that that dynamic would change at all under your system? And would you want to have the at-large city council member still run at the opposite turn of the wheel of the mayor? Would that be what you would have in mind?
I had suggested that the person run on the odd year. As a person who sits on the city committee, one of our concerns moving forward after the 2008 election is that there's not going to be an excitement to generate people and to motivate people to come out to next year's election. Because when you think about it, what are the major races next year? And the major race next year is going to be council president and some judges. So we're going to have a very, very low turnout next year unless a miracle happens, then we have some fantastic candidates. But I don't think that the voter turnout next year is going to be great. It was great last year, 2007, because of the mayor's race, and people really are engaged in that, and you can see the power of that position. It's going to be a great voter turnout this year, plus the presidential election, plus you have the state office that are running. 2009, it's going to be very, very slow.
That'll be the last question. We thank you so very much for coming.
Thank you so much for considering my proposal.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you.
We have present with us the Finance Commissioner, James LaPerche. Mr. First, we thank you for indulging us running a few minutes behind. We're starting at 7:36. So 1 minute behind, 2 minutes behind, just couldn't miss 7:37. How are you doing?
Okay. My proposal, I don't think is as dramatic as Dow's changing the election process, only we're talking about the budget process. Looking at the charter and the city code, the budget process is in these two sections. Section 5 of the charter and chapter 12 of the code. I think back in the 90s when the budget process went to charter revision, portions of the chapter 12 was moved into a section of the charter. For some reason, some of those sections was left in 12, were not moved to 5. So basically, you're going, when you look at the budget process, you go from 12 to 5, actually 5 to 12 and back. So my recommendation is to look at 12, and the appropriate portions of 12 should be moved to 5. So everything is in one spot. I also looked at 5 and things I felt was not apropos anymore. I asked to eliminate or to change slightly. And finally, the other thing I recommend is there always has been a question when we deal with the budget is what happens if for whatever reason there is that the city council does not pass the budget. Now, there's all jam and no one can reach a consensus on the budget. The charter really doesn't address that. And the only item, again, is in chapter 12, is where it deals with, well, you continue to operate basically at last year's levels until the city council decides to do whatever they do. The concern as finance commissioner is, yes, it allows the city to continue for a very big period of time until basically it runs out of money. And basically June, July is when you start running out of money because the appropriation runs out, the taxes are not collected. So my proposal is that by July 15th, the city council has not acted on the budget, the mayor's budget then basically becomes the city budget for that current fiscal year. The reason why I looked at that, there was some things looking at, well, which just goes back to the last year's budget. But I believe that the mayor's budget, when he proposes it, is the most current information there is out there for the ensuing year's budget. If you look even at this year's budget, the city council adopted a budget at approximately $82.7 million. The mayor's budget was $893.9 million, a difference of only $1.2 million. So it's always very close. There's always this disagreement over small items in the budget, but when it comes down to it, it's only $2 to $3 million. If you looked at last year's budget, the adopted budget was approximately $860 million.